Okay, welcome back. We're right in the middle of the countdown to the Ondo governorship election. Our man Ayodele Olubago is actually in Ondo, attending, covering a stakeholders meeting, and we shall be joining with Ayo as soon as the lines are clear. But we have with us in the studio Mr. Donald Ojogo. He's Commissioner for Information and Orientation in Ondo State. You're welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Indeed, our pleasure.
Thank you.
As the government representative of the government, is it your how well are the preparations going? I imagine that INEC has its own schedule, but you also, as a government, you have your own schedule to ensuring the success of this operation. How well would you say arrangements are going?
Well, we, to a very large extent, I can stand there and speak on behalf of the government and on behalf of my party, the APC. So, in any case, it's a dual responsibility, because one, as government, you have the responsibility of ensuring that, at least to a very large extent, you provide an enabling environment and a very conducive atmosphere for the participation to suffice. And as a participant, as one of the contestants in the race, we also have to equally ensure that our party sustains not only itself in government, but also ensures that the hope and the goodwill of the people is sustained further come October 10. So it's a dual responsibility for us as a government.
And also perhaps a level playing field?
Yeah, level playing field. Well, we are also praying for that.
Yes.
We are pleading for that.
Because there have been skirmishes in the past. Yeah. In the recent past is why I bring this up.
Yes.
Where there have been both sides trading blame.
As far as we are concerned in government, it is our desire to go into this contest under an atmosphere of peace and under an environment where a level playing field is provided for all the contestants, including the APC and its candidate, of course, the incumbent governor of the state. So, one, it is not our responsibility to fully provide a level playing field, because we are also participants in the game.
But
so
you
we are
pleading. But you are the ruling party.
Yeah, we are the ruling party. That's our party has always done in every state that elections have taken place.
And so have a responsibility for the security as well. After all, your principal, the governor, is the chief security officer, so to speak.
Well, that is a perception. We want to agree that theoretically is the chief security officer, but practically is it so? That is an issue for another day anyway. We are here to discuss the election of Ondo State. But be that as it may, if what sufficed in Edo State is anything to go by,
yes,
I think I want to believe that we are getting close to the time that Nigerians will begin to have confidence in the electoral process. We saw a high level of professionalism on the side of INEC, a high level of professionalism on the side of even the security agencies. Virtually every Nigerian has commended the security agencies for the professional manner and conduct they administered their responsibilities in Edo State. So I believe strongly too, and the state government does not have any doubts in any form that a similar situation will suffice in the case of Ondo State. Given that scenario, we are good to go as a party.
Okay, yeah. But as you also know, no sort of arrangements or preparations can really be said to be perfect. We shall only be striving towards that goal, and in fact, we dare not strive for anything less. With that in mind, and bearing in mind that you are on ground in Ondo, I wonder if there are areas that you felt you could point to uniquely as areas that needs to be watched, all other things being equal towards the successful, conduct of this election.
I think the only disturbing scenario, violence, skirmishes of disagreements, in some cases leading to very lethal scenarios, very untoward, but they are mostly unavoidable in political contests.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's an unfortunate development.
But they can be contained.
They can be contained. But the difference in the case of Ondo State is that most of these skirmishes that we have witnessed, as condemnable as they appear, as condemnable as they are, in the real sense of it, we believe and we are persuaded to think that are mostly orchestrated by the loud victims.
Okay.
Yes, because we had a scenario, we had a situation, sometimes in Owo, I mean, somewhere around Owo, where, I don't want to name names, where one of the contestants in the race organized some persons in the apparel of an opposing party and attacked his convoy. A lot of persons were injured.
So all sorts of shenanigans like
so
that.
there have
Go
been
on.
a lot of things like that.
Okay.
So to an extent, that one of those victims he named as one of his supporters, the CP got there. One of the national television stations was also there to get words from that supposed victim. And he said, look, I am not a member of that party they are talking. I'm a member of this party. So for them to claim I'm their member, it means something is wrong. That was totally embarrassing. So that is the scenario. But it's a very dangerous dimension into the campaign period that we have found ourselves leading to this election.
Okay.
And the security agencies must be able to contain that.
Okay.
Well, it is for someone to say that I have been attacked. It is also another, and it is most important for the security agencies to unravel if actually the person so attacked was actually attacked by the accused or by the alleged.
I hear you. Thank you very much. But as has been said, elections are not wars, and it's unfortunate that we still have to be talking about attacks. But you see, by and large, you're satisfied generally with the preparations ongoing. We can speak with our man in Ondo right now, Ayo Ozuwaku, who is, as I said, covering stakeholders gathering, conference. In fact, Ayo himself will tell us about it. Good morning, Ayo.
Good morning, Yori.
Yes. Okay. So what is the nature of the stakeholders event?
Yes. Anytime the Independent National Electoral Commission is conducting this kind of election, what INEC does is that INEC bring together all the stakeholders, talking about the political parties that will be involved in Saturday's election. We have 17 political parties that will be involved in Saturday's election, and the Inspector General of Police is going to be here, and the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission himself, Professor Mahmoud, is going to be here himself, and all parties represented from all these political parties, they are going to be here. This is the place that civil society organizations, independent observers, everybody, they're expected here. This is the dome in the heart of Alagbaka, Akure, and they do this thing just some 2-3 days before the proper election. This is where they ask questions from INEC. This is where they ask the police question on the security arrangement. This is where candidates will come and they will confront each other on, look, these allegations and counter allegations. Like yesterday in Akure, we had a breakdown of law and order between the supporters of the All Progressive Congress and the People's Democratic Party. We experienced the same thing. And we thought the Benin election, the Edo State election, they are going to take a kind of cue for it because it went free and fair and it was rancor-free. But in the last 5 days, consistently, between the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressive Congress, there have been seeming breakdown of law and order. I have a civil rights activist here and who have been observing it. We did it together in Edo State. He's also here with me, Richard Akinola. Richard, I don't know. It was Edo State that we're afraid that there will be seeming breakdown of law and order. Now, that fear, apprehension has come over to Ondo State. And a lot of people will say that, look, with the signals that we've been seeing, people might be frightened to come out on Saturday to vote. What do you make of this?
Well, I think what happened in Edo was an anticlimax, actually, because there was also apprehension that lots of violence going to be, what I would call the build-up of violent rhetorics by the two contending political parties. But the election went, smoothly, substantially. It was substantially free and fair. INEC did a good job, security did a good job. So, and I thought that would be, they use that as a template for Ondo election.
Especially for the political parties.
Yes, but violence-free election is not just about on the election day, but the pre-election period is also crucial. Like yesterday, I said in Arakali, I mean, this violence between,
Nakure?
yeah, in Nakure between PDP and APC, and even last night I learned that there was another incident last night. So, but this
You
morning,
know what? There was something similar.
yeah, but this morning while coming, I mean, I've seen a substantial, deployment of security forces and policemen. I mean, parading with blaring signs around here and there. So I think maybe as from today, maybe there will be, I mean, some semblance of stability in terms of political violence. Because I expect INEC and IG to build on the success of the election. So I mean, but I hope, I mean, the signals we are seeing will not portend bad omen for Saturday.
This election is particularly interesting because the normal two-horse race is not what we're going to have. We might not have the normal two-horse race. A new entrant, that is Zenith Labour Party, you know, being promoted by the former governor of the state, that's Raman Olusegun Mimiko, Zenith Labour Party. And Zenith Labour Party has the incumbent deputy governor as its candidate. And when you want to look at the balance of power, the incumbent deputy governor is from the Southern Senatorial District, Eitarius Jegede is from the Central Senatorial District, while we have the governor is from the Northern Senatorial District. It's like they've all shared this one by one in their enclaves. What is it going to look like on Saturday?
Well, I think it's like a replay of what happened 4 years ago. Don't forget that Olusola Oketu is from the southern. I mean, is from the southern, and he contested under AD. I mean, 4 years ago. Jegede from Central, and of course the incumbent Aketu from Owo. So the only difference now is the Zenith Labour guy who's coming.
Zenith Labour Party is relatively new.
But as it is, unlike before, we say okay, just two parties. But now we have three parties, and each of them, they have their own strong areas, but it's very difficult to now make any conjecture that, oh, this one has upper hand, this one has, because election can be quite different, because like we
saw it in those states. It's not about the crowd you see doing the rallies.
All the crowd you see in rally, anybody can hire crowd. But how many of these people have PVC? And because if you look at the average voter turnout in Ondo election, is just around 500,000.
Okay, let's talk about that one. Yeah. Now, we have 1.4 million registered voters that picked their PVC.
Yes.
The statistic was even put at 81, the number of people that actually picked that PVC, 1.4 million. Now, on the day of election proper, in the 2016 election, it was said that they had 29.8% turnout. Yeah. And the 2019 election, they had 32.3% turnout. What are we looking at now? Do you see an improvement to that figure? Out of that 1.4 million, how many people do you expect to come out?
I don't think so, because if we use Edo again as an example, if we look at the last two elections in Edo before this last one, it's the same 550,000 to 600,000 registered voters when you have over 1 million people with PVC. So similar thing, if you look at last year's election, the presidential election, is around between APC and PDP is almost the same thing, about 500,000, 550,000 550 voters.
People.
So the same thing I expect going to happen in this election.
What is responsible for this voter apathy? Because if you have 1.4 million people and we are projecting that 500,000 people will turn out.
Well, I think the build up to the election with this kind of flashpoint of violence, some people are scared to come out, so they rather sit down at home. And then there's this kind of perception too by some voters that our vote will not count. We have said, I mean, it doesn't matter, they will just declare whoever. But that's a very wrong way of thinking, because in the case of Edo State, it was a different group, because INEC introduced a new dimension to it.
Yes,
because from
the results that came out, uploading the results online and everything.
Which is a wonderful, fantastic innovation, which I think people should think that, okay, if INEC has adopted this kind of innovation, people should come out to believe that their votes will count, and that the security people are on top of the situation.
That votes should definitely count.
Yes.
Richard Akinola, a civil society organization, a member of a civil society organization, and a civil rights activist. We've covered several elections together in time past. Is here as an observer to observe what we go down on Saturdays. That is October 10, the 2020 Ondo State Governorship election. I told you earlier that I'm right here at the Dome. We're expecting the Inspector General of Police, we're expecting the INEC chairman, we're expecting all the candidates, 17 of them in number. We're expecting them together today and tomorrow. They are going to come here again. The 17 candidates are going to come here, and the Peace Commission, they're going to sign the Peace Pact tomorrow, led by General Abdusalam Abubakar and Reverend Father Matthew Kuka. Over to you, Lagos, Yori.
Thank you very much, Ayo. Also, now, 17 parties, no less. How do you evaluate the opposition? And what would you say is the relationship between the ruling party and oppositions? We've heard some, let it be said, some stuff. Allegations, the governor's son, his family also being involved in all of this. The governor's son has threatened to go to court if people don't behave themselves. And on that kind of cloud, what would you say was the relationship between the ruling party and indeed Governor Akeredolu and the opposition?
I think it's a two-way thing. While on one hand, the governor has a very robust personal relationship with most members of the opposition. On the other hand, we are facing a very vicious opposition that thrives on the tripod of lies, propaganda, and mischief. And we are not bothered. But the truth always remains that, well, even though we are not given to unnecessary publicity and propaganda, we must be courageous enough to put the facts before the public. For instance, we faced in the last 2-3 months this allegation of family business, the governor's son, the governor's wife. Well, the governor's son has a right to threaten legal action if he feels strongly that he has been maligned by anyone. Because anywhere people go to, the campaign has been either the governor as an individual, his wife, or his son. That goes to show that the opposition is not bringing anything on the table in form of manifesto, policies, and programs.
Well, actually, the opposition also accused your party of non-performance, or whatever it is worth.
So that means they are not bringing anything to the table.
Okay.
That is why they will go personal to attack individuals. In the case of the governor's son, they say, well, he's a consultant on IGRO to the states. The young man is not a consultant. The truth of the matter and the fact remains that there is a Canadian firm, SCDC, that has been operating for decades. And it exists in about 420 countries, including non-state actors under its clientele. And this SCDC really came to Ondo State to reinvigorate the IGRO drive of the state. It was indeed proposed and recommended to all the states by a former chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, through the Governors Forum. So when people say the governor's son is a consultant, we only laugh.
So it's not true.
It's not true. But the truth is that the reality, which is also unfortunate, is that lies fly. Now they say the governor's wife is the one controlling the Ministry of Women Affairs. I had one of the pretenders to the governorship seat, said the woman receives 11 million naira monthly from the Ministry of Women Affairs.
Again, that is a lie.
I found that not only laughable, but very pedestrian.
So it is a lie?
Yes, because the Ministry of Women Affairs, I am the Commissioner for Information. I should have information on the tip of my fingers. Sure. Ministry of Information, the Ministry of Women Affairs.
This is the kind of campaigning that you are getting.
Yeah, we are getting. So now the people know. This is a ministry that does not get up to 20 million naira in a year as running grants.
In a year?
Never
mind the amount.
As running grant. Yet somebody will say that the governor's wife received 11 million naira monthly. Then again, there is a lie that was shown to the public.
Yeah.
And that remains the scenario where someone painted that the governor's wife was indeed responsible for the nomination of the deputy governorship candidates to her husband. That is so unfortunate. we can't go to that
So
level.
this is the kind
And
of...
let me give you a background. The deputy governorship candidate of Akredolu, Lokayedatiwa,
Okay.
Lokayedatiwa, is a founding member of the ACN, from the ACN to the APC, a front runner and an ally of the governor. I want to please draw your attention to the fact that in 2016...
I don't have all the time, sir. I know you have facts at your fingertips. So what you're saying is they're facing largely a campaign of calumny.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is what it has degenerated to. But when the opposition says that it's not impressed with the performance of this administration, briefly, what would you...
I think they also say it. Yes, in terms of performance, road construction, and a few other things, he has tried, but what about the cost? What about this? What about that? I do not think any serious-minded opposition has come. An element in the opposition camp has come to say that the man has not performed. Unless the person is saying non-performance means construction of or a flyover. If they say it's non-performance, then we only feel sorry for them. If the employment of over 4,000 workers through the Orange Industrial Hub is non-performance, it's rather unfortunate. If the revival of the university that was abandoned in the south by the immediate past administration for 8 years, that is now wearing a new look, can be considered to be non-performance, then we'll now tell the contents of the opposition that is now brewing in Ondo State. If you go to Ikare, if the construction and the molding down of the dreaded Okala-Bojito to an expressway is considered to be non-performance, then it's only unfortunate. Okay. If we have constructed over 400 roads,
I know you have,
and renovated over 700 schools, public schools in Ondo State, and people come to the public to say that is non-performance. That is unfortunate. I'm
going to have to appeal to you. I know there's a much longer list.
Yes.
But I want to thank you, Mr. Ojogo, Mr. Donald Ojogo, Honorable Commissioner for Information and Orientation in Ondo State. Indeed, thank you very much for making time for us.
Thank you.
And we'll also get in touch with the opposition in Ondo to hear their side of the story as well. But thank you very much for coming on.
You'll be glad to listen to the same whole story.
Okay, you can't tell what they're going to tell us. Yeah, but that's our program today. Thank you very much for being with us. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I'll be back, God willing, tomorrow. I'm Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.